So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. On behalf of the Global Water Operators Partnership Alliance, part of UN Habitat, I would like to warmly welcome you to this webinar titled The Digitalization Journeys of Water and Sanitation Utilities in Low and Middle Income Settings. My name is Juliana Ferrero and I'm a senior consultant for GWOPA UN Habitat. I will be moderating this session today. Before we start, some housekeeping considerations. We have a very rich yet very dense program today, so we may or may not be able to address some of your questions at the end of the webinar. Nevertheless, we have a Q&A function activated, so I invite you to write your questions in the Q&A, and I kindly ask all the speakers to keep an eye on the Q&A and to answer questions on the go as they come in. So as a reminder, please don't write in the chat, but do write in the Q&A function. Now, moving on with the program for today, if I can have the next slide, please. Thank you. The webinar will be opened by Aline Mata, which is the head of the United Nations Innovation Technology Accelerator for Cities. Zach White from GSMA will give us an overview of water utility digitalization in low and middle income country contexts. Next up will be Shen Otieno, which will guide us through the digitalization journey of Kisumu Water and Sanitation Company. We will then move to Bangladesh, where Muhammad Abdullah will share the experience of Khulna Water Supply and Sewerage Authority on the implementation of incremental digitalization and challenges encountered. Alejandro Capizzano will illustrate his experience on well pump operation and maintenance in Mar del Plata, Argentina. And lastly, Beatrice Barresi of the European Space Agency will explain how space solutions could be employed in the water and sanitation sector. So without further ado, I would like to start officially by introducing the first speaker. Aline Mata is the Senior Program Management Officer and the head of the United Nations Innovation Technology Accelerator for Cities, located in Hamburg, Germany. Her career encompasses experiences in international organizations and governments in the fields of sustainable development, urban innovation, and regional transformation. Aline spearheaded projects that supported cities and regions in advancing smart cities for inclusive growth and implementing a territorial approach to the Sustainable Development Goals. Aline, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Juliana. Can you hear me well?
Yes, very well.
Good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, dear GWOPA members, distinguished presenters, and also participants, it's a privilege to welcome you all today in this important session on digitalization journeys of water and sanitation utilities in low and middle income settings. Indeed, technology has a pivotal role in improving urban water and sanitation systems. There are many opportunities to use technology to build infrastructure or even provide services in cities. However, we also need to consider that the digital divide can exacerbate inequalities and impact water utilities by reducing efficiency and also service delivery, especially when we talk about marginalized communities. Just to bring you some figures, around 25% of the global population still lacks access to safe drinking water, with informal settlements being the most affected ones. So this is where initiatives like GWOPA are key, acting as critical bridges to transfer technology and also mentor utilities of their path to digitalization. At UN Habitat, we talk about people-centered smart cities where digitalization is aligned with key urban priorities, such as to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Existing gaps in infrastructure, literacy, and high internet costs, for example, in low and middle income countries, can underscore the need for resilient, safe, and also inclusive digital public infrastructure that leaves no one behind. Our recent Smart Cities Outlook report indicates that an estimated 39% of the world population is not using the internet, and evidence also shows that only 5% of municipal portals globally were compliant with accessibility standards as of 2024. So the challenge is really to ensure that these digital systems actively target the most marginalized communities, bringing clean water and dignified sanitation where it is needed most. So the UN Global Digital Compact, for example, which was adopted by world leaders this year, stressed the potential of digital technologies to deliver services at scale and increase social and economic opportunities for all. For this to happen, it's essential to build capacity of operators and stakeholders to center people in the digitalization of utility operations while also addressing job displacement due to technological advancements. So providing staff with training on responsible and people-centered use of digital technology, for example, includes areas such as user experience, data privacy, and also equitable access. So these efforts must be paired, of course, with security system and data measures to protect the integrity and trustworthiness of digital services. So transparent, safe, and secure digital systems and user-centered safeguards can promote public trust in the adoption of digital services. Now, to support this, UNHABITAT is currently developing the international guidelines on people-centered smart cities, which will serve as a non-binding framework for developing national and local smart city regulations, plans, and strategies to ensure that digital urban infrastructure and also data can contribute to making cities and human settlements more sustainable, more inclusive, prosperous, and also respectful of human rights at the local level. So one example that I want to bring to you is exactly the UNITAC, the United Nations Innovation Technology Accelerator for Cities, which is a partnership between UN Habitat, OICT, and also Hafen City University in Hamburg. And the team has been working to support national and local governments worldwide to leverage digital tools and platforms towards these achievements of the SDGs, particularly SDG 11, and indeed, through collaborations with UNITAC, what we have observed so far is that how digital technologies can revolutionize the water and sanitation landscapes and help advancing the implementation, for example, of SDG 6. So here I can mention the work that we have been doing with water operators and the Hargeisa water agents to increase access to safe and affordable drinking water by using a mobile application that can help the population to locate certified water providers. So I would like just to conclude here by saying that to fully realize the benefits of technology in the water and sanitation sector, the collaboration with science, technology, and innovation is crucial. And this also helps to underscore the importance of meaningful youth inclusion and multi-level stakeholders collaboration in tech and innovation. So today we will hear, as Juliana mentioned, about global trends in the water and sanitation sector, experiencing from utilities, and also the innovative use of satellite imagery. So thank you again for this interesting and meaningful event that we are going to have today. It's a critical topic, a critical moment that we all need to join forces, especially on innovation and research. So I wish you all a fruitful and engaging discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aline, for your wise words and for opening in the right way this important session. We will now start to dive into the core of the webinar, calling up the first speaker, which is Zach White. He is the Senior Insights Manager with the GSMA Mobile for Development Digital Utilities Program. His work focuses on how digital solutions can be leveraged to accelerate access to affordable, reliable, safe, and sustainable urban utility services in low and middle income countries. Zach has spent 12 years working in applied research in water and other essential services, and previously a senior consultant with Oxford Policy Management. He has advised clients, including the Collaborative African Budget Reform Initiative, UK's Department for International Development, now called Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, the World Bank, various UN agencies, and USAID. Zach, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon from London, everyone. My presentation today is really a framing presentation of the issue. It also draws on the work of the GSMA's Mobile for Development Foundation. So it's divided roughly in 3 parts. First, I'll introduce the GSMA and our work. I've then got a middle section about how to think about digitalization and water utilities. And then the final section draws on some of the research we've done in the area. So starting with the GSMA, Mobile for Development Foundation, the GSMA as a whole is the Global Industry Association for Mobile Operators. Within that exists the Mobile for Development Foundation, which works at the intersection of the mobile ecosystem and the development sector. The reason for this really is because for billions of people, mobile is their only access to digital services, but also that it's critical national infrastructure and pretty much essential in many of the solutions that will be talked about today. The team that I work for, the Digital Utilities Programme, focuses on urban services, including water. One of the main things that we do is provide equity-free grants up between 100 and 250,000 to early stage innovators and startups. To date, across all the sectors we work in, which are on screen there, we've dispersed, these figures are a bit out of date. We've now dispersed 26 million to 140 organizations that have impacted, I think that figure's up to 49 million, with 660 million in follow-on funding. And then we also facilitate the partnerships needed to deliver those services with mobile operators. So really, this is our departure point for how we've engaged in water sector digitalization, which brings me to this kind of first way of looking at the digital solutions, which is through the lens of the use cases or the particular services that are delivered. So the summary of what we've done to date is on the B2C side, there was a lot of early work in rural and urban contexts around digitalizing payments, which of course are absolutely essential for getting revenue collections up and revenue collection efficiency. We've also done a lot of work on urban water ATM models, which we've now seen scaling at quite a rate across lots of different customer segments. On the utility side, what we've supported directly is IoT and smart metering deployments, utility management tools, so ERP solutions on a SaaS basis, and asset tracking and monitoring solutions. I think the thing that differentiates us is that all of these companies are focused on working in low and middle income countries, with the vast majority of them also headquartered there. The second thing I'm going to draw attention to is this publication from the IWA in 2019, which sets out a couple of frameworks of how to think about digital adoption. The first on the right is quite a complex schema, and I'm not going to run through it, but it's essentially mapping the technologies to utility operations and the kind of assets that you'd have. I think this is a good framework, but it's missing. First of all, it's very complex to kind of think about it all in these terms. And secondly, you get a huge diversity of where these things are relevant. That paper also offered the thinking around utility adoption over time and the different phases and characteristics of adoption. I'll return to this later at the end of the presentation. In terms of our own work, in 2022, we did a piece of work with some Kenyan utilities and water for and sanitation for the urban poor. In terms of our thinking about digital adoption, we were really seeking a way that we could have clear communication and clearly map where utilities had offered different solutions. And our kind of framework and typology that we developed came around essentially the reference architecture for the technology side. So instead of the systems or over time, thinking about these different buckets of the technology layers that are required to deliver a digital solution, and then asking specifically about those different elements. So that runs from, data acquisition, the connectivity layer, the processing and storage, very important from the cybersecurity side, and then how that feeds both into management and control and the analytics to support it. Sitting alongside this is the customer relations piece, which has its own kind of buckets of digital solutions, and it's also enormously important. My final slide on framing the ways to think about this is we also set these solutions alongside the World Bank's Utilities of the Future framework. What I draw attention to with this graphic is where different elements and digital solution connect the different parts of water utility operations, from the legal and regulatory frameworks through to the service to customers. I'd encourage anyone who wants to read more about that to look up the paper on the left there. In terms of what we found, and we're actually going to hear from Kisumu next, in terms of the digital adoption of the Kenyan utilities, was really there was quite extensive adoption of digital payments for anyone who knows Kenya. M-Pesa, since 2007, has become incredibly prevalent within the country. There was relatively limited deployment of sensors and IoT. An interesting transition was happening in quite a few utilities, which is, say, 10 years ago, it wasn't uncommon to develop different digital tools for different parts of utility operations. The trend that we saw among the more digitally mature utilities was the real need to have some enterprise resource planning systems in place to begin to unite those digital tools and really realize the benefits of them. Limited use of GIS mapping, and we didn't find any cases of advanced analytics for optimizing operations. So this slide is about research that we've done and others have done, and it's really the state of knowledge about global digital adoption. And the short answer is not a lot. In 2019, a consortium of universities deployed the Smart Water Survey, which had 53 responses, but 70% of those were from high-income countries. In 2022, we, together with the World Bank, Global Water Practice, and the International Water Association, conducted a rapid self-selecting sample. There we got 87 responses from 31 countries, and 90% of those in low and middle income countries, with particularly high response rates in Latin America and the Caribbean. The highlights from that were 3/4 of those who responded to the survey self-identified as at the early stages of digital adoption. Only 54 had any form of digital payments, and the same proportion for digitalizing billing. 49% had no dedicated budget, and 20% no form of automation or only a very limited form. These data need to be treated with an enormous health warning. It is a self-selecting sample based on the networks of the IWA and the World Bank. Nonetheless, I think they draw attention to the fact that, on digital payments, on budget, and on automation, it's pretty much 50-50 out of those that responded. So there is both a lot of progress that has taken place and a lot of adoption, but there's also a huge opportunity. My final two slides are about opportunities and some of the trends. So returning to that IWA framework, for those that's not started, based on our experience engaging with utilities and that research in Kenya, some of the best supportive actions are to start with strategy development, needs assessments, and the kind of capacity and market mapping needed to understand what and where is possible. Then starting with some of the low-hanging fruit opportunities, which really are around payments, metering, and billing. The reasons that we see them as excellent places to start is because they can have an immediate impact on revenues, and rather than going something that's purely around monitoring and improving operational efficiency, these are likely to return benefits very quickly. For utilities that have started to adopt some solutions, then it's looking at some of those more advanced deployments, so sensors, smart meters, some process automation, and then also really focusing on that customer engagement piece and the digital options there for improving services. Once you've moved beyond those pilots, some automation, there is really the need to invest in those digital systems and the software to support really using a lot of those data and capabilities. And then here, some further opportunities around GIS, and of course, cybersecurity becomes much more of a concern at this stage. And then finally, there's the question of financing large-scale hardware deployments and really how digital has a place within the evolving strategy of the utility. And then finally, at this kind of transformational piece, we haven't seen any cases there as of yet. My final slide is some of the reasons we see for being quite hopeful about the state of digital adoption in water. I think the first thing to flag is from our work, but also the great work of others like Imagine H2O and the Asian Development Bank's venture arms. I should also add UN Habitat, but there is a fantastic pipeline of innovation and companies ready to partner with utilities, and increasingly those focused around specific regions and markets. I think the second big reason to be cheerful is that innovative and blended finance, long pitch rolled in the water sector, is reaching a stage of maturity, and we're seeing some very innovative funding models coming up, especially those that are digitally enabled, and I've listed some on screen there. The third is that there's increasingly a strong digital foundation within the skills of water utility staff and also the population, notwithstanding the points the previous speaker made around some of the risks there with exclusion. And finally, the sense of urgency around water, that it's increasingly receiving the political attention that it deserves. And that's it for me. I hope I've kept to time. Thank you very much, and I'll pass back to our hosts.
Thank you so much, Zach. You were perfect on time, and I also enjoyed to end up your presentation with the reasons to be cheerful and hopeful towards the future of digitalization in water. So thank you so much. I would like to welcome once again those of you that just joined and the people that are online. Now we're over 100, and it's really fantastic that you had the time to join us today. Just to remind you that you can introduce yourself in the chat, but if you do have any question for our speakers, please write them in the Q&A function that you can see on the top of your screens. So thank you so much for that. The next speaker is Shem Otieno, but I don't see him online anymore. So if Shem is not there and is joining with another account, please just unmute yourself and speak up. And otherwise, I would ask Safa and the team to move on with the next presentation, which is Mohammed Abdullah. So I don't think the Shem was able to rejoin. Apologies for that. We will move on now with the next presenter. So Mohammed Abdullah is the Managing Director of Khulna Water Supply and Sewerage Authority in Bangladesh. He held this position for the last 15 years. He holds an engineering degree from the Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, a postgraduate from the University of Slovenia, and a master in business administration. He has been working in utilities in the water and energy sector for more than 35 years. Mr. Abdullah, if you can unmute yourself and turn on the camera, and then the floor will be yours. Hello, Mr. Abdullah. Mr. Abdullah, if you can hear us. Yes, I can see you now. We just have to unmute. You just need to unmute yourself. It's on the top right corner of your screen. We can see you, but we cannot hear you. And unfortunately, I cannot do it for you. Mr. Abdullah, try top right corner to see if that works. Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you very well. Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will ask. Yeah.
So this is Mohammad Abdullah Kiwasa from Bangladesh. So first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to Ms. Guliana for her all cooperation and support. And my sincere thanks to the representatives of GWOPA, UN Habitat, and other organizers who have arranged this webinar and online workshop on digitalization journeys of water and sanitation utilities in low and middle income settings. So now I am going to present here the experience of Kulnawasa on the implementation of incremental digitalization and challenges encountered. So this is the first slide. Next slide. So in the first place, I have tried to show the background activities regarding the digitalization journeys of GWOPA. Actually, GWOPA was established in the year 2008. So as a newly established organization, initially the lack of qualified and skilled manpower was an acute problem. So management worked towards operational efficiency, improvement of GWOPA. So for this purpose, actually the management identified the weak operational areas and prioritized them in relation to customer services and financial impact on the organization. And another important issue was selected, the collaborations with water operators partnership, and the last one was the development of sustainability improvement plan and action plan. Actually, these are the inspiration behind the digitalization history. So transition to digital systems to strive for transparency, accountability, and integrity. So these are actually the main idea behind this digitalization, to establish transparency, accountability, and integrity in all important areas, operational areas, in an incremental way. Next slide. So in this slide, I have shown the customer billing system of GWOPA. In fact, as I have already mentioned, in the year 2008, this organization has been established. So from 2009, the billing system was almost, it's an irregular system. It's a manual billing system, and the mode of receiving the revenue was completely cash receipt basis, and as a result, it was not fully reliable with the staffs who are engaged for cash collection from the households. So that's why we have faced many anomalies and errors in record updating. So considering this is one of the problem for the organization, so then we have thought how to improve for the next step. And then for the next step, we have identified here as 2014, 2014. So then actually initially before 2014, there was no metering system at customers' household. All the customers were billed on a monthly fixed rate basis. So from 2014, the monthly meter readings and bill delivery outsource system was introduced and input into local desktop-based computing system. So this is the first time in GWOPA that formal billing system with the desktop computer started, and bills were generated and distributed to customers regularly. But even that, we are thinking how to move further improvement. Then in the year 2017, we actually established the digital web-based billing system. So this digital web-based billing system features is that mainly, you see, in the billing system, so even the customer can see their bills online. They can download their bills. They can see in the web-based bill whether their bill amount is accurate or not. So even they can lodge any remarks or complaint in the system about their bill. So next, we are still thinking how to move further improvement in the billing and collection system, as well as in the metering system of customers. So next step is the 2021, that is the smart meter reading apps we have introduced. And then under this smart meter reading app, the main actually features were that is to take by using Android phones or cell phone. So go to the customer's household, then take the image of the meter index as well as give input on the digit of water consumption in the cell phone. Then it transmits to the server of GWOPA. So thus it has been established the transparency and accountability of bill preparation, consumption, water consumption recording, and also bill delivery. These are the actual achievements from this smart meter reading app. So next slide. So here in this slide, actually we have seen the digitalized meter reading steps. As I have mentioned, for GWOPA, actually digital systems has been introduced gradually. So these are the main milestones we can show here, how it started from the beginning to till date. So initially, as I have already mentioned, the manual customer billing starts from 2009. It was continued, in fact, up to 2014 without any meter. So at that time, only flat rate billing system was introduced, and from the year 2014, actually, installation of meter started, and initially we faced some difficulties for installation of meters. Initially, from the customer side also, there was a resistance because they were used and habituated without any meter. So they are using, water without any accountability according to their need, without any measurement. So initially we faced difficulties. However, with our continuous effort, finally we started meter installation from the year 2014, and then next year we started the billing through a desktop computer and used software initially. As I have already mentioned that in the year 2017 is really a milestone for GWOPA customer bill digitalization, because the web-based billing system is really very much friendly for provider, service provider as well as service recipient. For both the parties, this web-based billing system is really very much helpful because it creates actually the transparency and accountability in such a way that from this system, we have seen that the revenue earning as well as the complaint from the customer side, this has been a remarkable improvement we have noticed. So then next step we have achieved, actually we have tried for smart meter reading apps. Through these smart meter reading apps, we have actually reached more transparency and more accountability of both of GWOPA staff as well as from customer end. And the next step is, so in the year 2021, actually, as I have already mentioned, in the year 2014, we started meter installation beginning. And in the year 2021, actually, we have installed 100% customers meters. And then we are also at that time started meter reading with apps initially as a pilot project in the year 2020, and in the year 2022 actually we have covered so 100% customers meters with these meter reading apps. And through these meter reading apps, actually we have achieved a lot in terms of customer service standard improvement and also financial improvement of the organization through this accurate and timely bill preparation. Next slide. So as I have already mentioned that we have introduced the smart meter reading apps. So these are the main features of smart meter reading apps. So through this app, actually we collect more than water uses. Normally, we have engaged outsourced company for this collection of meter reading through this app, and they working. Actually, they not only capture the uses unit, also they collect the information of premises condition and other relevant informations of the customer meters, whether is there any meter stolen or whether there is any meter whose index is not clear to see the digits. So these are the relevant informations we can actually getting from the meter readers who are using this smart app. Then also you can evaluate the meter reader performance through their actually quality of image they are sending to server, and also the number of customers they're covering per day for collecting through this app. And also from the office we can see the visibility of meter reader route also on maps, where they are working, and at the end of the day we can see their how much actually customers they have covered in a day and which are the roads they have done today. And other also we have other features as well as easy for future improvement. We are also actually keeping the provision for future improvement in this app. And customer self-service meter reading, we are also in the future improvement, we are thinking that maybe at present the meter reader taking this image and as well as the digit and sending to the KWAS server, but in future we can keep the provision, we can also implement that the same reading and the image of each for the customer, the reader can also send to the customer's mobile phone so that they can also see their reading and consumption so that later on after the issue of bill, there should not be any complaint or any confusion regarding the consumption. So this will help us also in future. So next slide.
Mr. Abdullah, I'm sorry, you have a couple of minutes left, so I don't know how you want to organize yourself for the end. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next. So here we have a customer bill payment system. As I have explained earlier, that in the 2009 payment collection was by collectors on the cash basis, and next step we have gone to 2012 bank collection system through banks, and it was after every 3 months. And in the year 2014 bank collection systems every month billing, and 2016 online payment system started through mobile financial services, and from 2016 to now on date, actually these mobile financial services has been expanded, and at this moment we are collecting through online payment more than 30% of customers, and we are expecting that within next 3 years it will be increased by about more than 60% through this mobile financial service, that is online bill collection. Next. So here we have shown another digitalization event under KWASA, asset management systems. Actually, under this system, we have this has been introduced in the year 2023 through GWOPA app. And initially, we have considered three components of the systems, like our meters and also distribution pipelines and also valves in the distribution systems. So from the office even through this app, we can see physically the meters position, the distribution line position. Even there is any leak in the distribution systems, we can get this information and we can take immediate action for repairing the leakage. And also we are observing the status of the valve, whether it is functioning properly or there is any blockage, anything. So we can see actually at this moment we are taking care for distribution system pipes and also meters as well as valves for asset management systems. Next. So these are the achievements in the digitalization journey of KWASA. What we have achieved: improved procedures for meter reading, and which prohibiting illegal connivance with meter readers and unscrupulous customers. And we have also achieved improved bill preparation, more accurate, preventing customers overcharging in the bills, and transparency achieved, faster to generate and to deliver bills, less hassle for consumer, and increasing the revenue earnings from customer bills, improved collection efficiency by 25%. And we are also expecting this efficiency will improve gradually. And number of customers' complaints decreased actually remarkably, and increased trust on KWASA from the customer end, reducing non-revenue water. Actually, this non-revenue water has been also a remarkable improvement. It was about 36%. So now it has been reduced to nearly 18%. So gained knowledge on the uses of this digitalization system at KWASA. These are mainly one area of smart meter reading app, online customer bill posting, customer bill system, and online bill payments. So our staff and relevant officers have gained knowledge substantially on the uses of this system through the digitalization of KWASA. Next. So these are the actually challenges we encountered during the implementation of these digitalization systems. Technical difficulties with smart meter reading app in a water operators partnership due to cross-platform DBMS. One is the Oracle system for the mentor and MySQL for mentee. So it took a little technical difficulty to implement this system in GWOPA, and inadequate knowledge, skill, experience of GWOPA employees on digital systems. And also we faced lack of individual commitment and sincerity. And we noted the difficulties in changing the mindset and personal quality, lack of ownership and belongingness of GWOPA employees. So finally, these challenges we actually through our continuous strive and effort, we overcome, and we finally got the solution through top management commitment and need-based training, coaching sessions, awareness building program, and partnerships. So these are very important actually for encountering the challenges, and finally we got the opportunity to implement these digital systems at GWOPA, and thus we achieved finally the quality of manpower, we achieved the financial improvement of GWOPA, we achieved the service delivery standards, we achieved that is the customer end, many I mean the remarkably less complaint have actually we have been reached, and also leakage we have actually reduced to a remarkable extent, and leakage repair time also we have improved remarkably. So these are the things actually through digitalization of GWOPA. So we have achieved as a whole, as I have seen and try to show in the first slide, actually the background is the main actually driving force. Background slide, I have seen that these are the inspirations and initiatives through which actually we have been able to finally establish the digitalization systems at GWOPA.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah, for your contribution. It was very interesting to hear the experience of Kulnawasa, so thank you for that. Just a reminder for the speakers, there are two questions for you, Mr. Abdullah, in the Q&A. So I hope you can go in the Q&A and answer those two questions. And the same applies to Zach. So there are two questions for Zach White, one of the first speakers that we had. So I hope that both Zach and Mr. Abdullah can go in the Q&A section and answer those questions. So we can move on now with the next speaker, which is Alejandro Capizano. He's the service manager at Obras Sanitarias Mar del Plata, where he oversees the electromechanical maintenance of 35 water and sewage pumping stations, 300 wells, a sewage treatment plant, and an underwater outfall. He also oversees the operational improvement of pumping stations and the implementation of automation and SCADA systems. Mr. Capizano holds a degree in electronic engineering. Mr. Capizano, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning to all. We are from
Good morning, Alejandro. I don't know if you can switch on your camera. We could see you before, but we cannot see you anymore now.
It's already switched on.
Okay, so maybe it's an issue from my end only. Please go ahead.
Yes, this camera is on. Okay. We are from Mar del Plata. It's a city located in the east central region of Argentina by the Atlantic Ocean Sea, with a stable population of 667,000 people. It's a summer destination, attracting more than 3 million tourists during the summer season. In the last 40 years, we have tripled both the drinking water and sewage networks. And to make this possible, we had to double the number of pumping wells and construct new aqueducts. Now we have 350. You can pass the next slide, please, to see where are we located. Okay, next one. Here you can see that our population and the summer population already, and the quantity of connection, we have 350,000 connections on water, drinking water, and sewage connections. Next one. Here you can see how we grow in the last 3 years, 40 years, sorry, and what we have done, we have to do to manage this system. Next, please. Next. This is the sewage system. Next one. Okay, and this is how we grow in this digitalization. As I say, to make this possible, we had to double the number of pumping wells and construct new aqueducts. Now we have 350,000 drinking water and sewage connections. Since our wells are dispersed across both the city and countryside within an area of approximately 25 kilometers in radius, we began exploring tools to operate the drinking water supply system in 1990s, other than relying on personnel to manually start and stop pumps on site. We have to keep in mind that at that moment, we had limited resources in terms of personnel and mobility, and it took and also takes today more than an hour to reach the farthest well, plus the time required to transporting the water to tanks and cisterns. In 1995, we started preparing the starting motor panels in order to have reliable electrical signals possible to be connected to a remote transmission unit, such as pump state, on or off, local remote, overload trip, phase asymmetry, panel open door, voltage, and motor current. In 1999, with the panels ready, we installed 100 remote transmission units, and a UHF communication system, and a SCADA software, which allow us to control and supervise 150 pumps. Since then, we did not stop growing in facilities with this system installed, but at lower speeds, always because of budgets. Since then, this is in 2005, we began to load all the data acquired by the SCADA system into a SQL database, which allow us to store historical data of every pump connected to the system. The immediate next step was to access to this numerical data using a web browser. The following step started in 2015, when we took another major step forward by focusing on service quality, introducing IoT transmission systems such as LoRa and Mosquito. To measure water pressure in our distribution networks was a game changer. It allowed us to monitor and manage systems in real time, which significantly improved our response times and efficiency. Using solar power for these systems was another proud moment. It showed our commitment and sustainability and reducing our environmental footprint. The last stage, for the moment, was implemented during 2020, which consisted of displaying the information, which until then was numerical, in graphic format, using open source tools, which made it possible to visualize hydraulic and electrical behaviors more easily and quickly. When we began, our primary focus was on operation, but even then, we recognized the potential of automation to make our processes more efficient and to extend the useful life of our pumps and electrical equipment. Looking back, that decision to embrace automation early on was a milestone for us, and it laid the foundation of everything we have achieved since. The scope of our activities has grown significantly over the time. Today, as you said, we maintain and operate an impressive range of infrastructure, such as 300 water well extraction pumps and 18 sewage pump stations, 13 water pump stations, a sewage effluent treatment plant, and a submarine outfall. This is incredible to think about the sheer scale of the system we oversee and how vital our work is to the community. Every component plays a crucial role in ensuring seamless water and sewage operations, and we feel a deep sense of pride in being part of this effort. Over the last years, our growth has been steady and strategic. We started with local automation in individual facilities, which was already a big step at that time. From there, we moved to transmitting data to centralized control center, created a unified system to connect all our operations, building a database to store this information, adding even more value, enabling us to analyze trends, predict maintenance needs, and make more informed decisions. Today, one of the things we are most proud of is how we have been able to share this data across different sectors within the company, whether it's engineering, quality control, customer care, operations, or maintenance. Everyone benefits from having access to both numerical and graphical formats of the data. This cross-departmental sharing fosters better collaboration and ensures that our entire organization works more cohesively towards shared goals. Our graphical tools, in particular, are perfect examples of how far we have come. These tools not only make the data more accessible, but also more actionable. They help teams visualize complex information, enabling faster decision-making and problem-solving. It's amazing to see how something as simple as well-designed graph can make such a big difference in how we operate. Maintaining and improving such a system is not easy, but I believe our team's skills, dedication, and willingness to innovate, they have allowed us to achieve so much. Every step we have taken, from local automation to implementing IoT systems powered by solar energy, has been a building block in creating a smarter, more efficient, and more resilient organization. Next, please. Well, in this case, well pumps maintenance, as I mentioned before, we started adapting the existing motor starter boards. In this picture, you can see an impedance starter with basic local information as voltage and current, manual start, and an hour counter. No information on power factor, energy, or pressure was available. There was a person that twice a day, hopefully, gathered the pump operation information. With this data, you could only know that the motor was running or not, but it wasn't easy to determine if the pump was pumping or not. Next slide. Okay, this was our second step, where you can see a similar impedance started, but now with a local remote switch and a remote transmission unit installed at its backside. The RTU contains a control device, a power supply, and a power analyzer, and a UHF radio. Next. In this picture, you can see an evolution of the original starter board, where we mounted power and control devices in the same place. Replace the impedance start by a soft starter, reducing space, weight, and improving electrical and hydraulic performance of the facility. Next one. At the other side of the system, after data have traveled in less than a second to the control center, we can see in real time the starter board state and all the motor electrical parameters, as well as running hours and a reference active power. This reference active power is the one that we determined that the motor has to deliver to the pump, knowing its operation zone, as well as dynamic level, network pressure, and head losses of the facility. This with this data, the operator knows immediately if the pump is working as expected and can estimate a water flow. Another important thing is the voltage measurement that allows the operator and maintenance personnel to prevent a malfunctioning of the motor or call the energy supplier to advise of abnormality in the supply network. Next one. This is another picture of another starter with a VFD starter. Then you can control the pressure by moving the speed of the pump. You can see that you can set a pressure set point, and you can see also the pressure measured at that moment. Here you have information about power and the state of the electrical parameters of the motor. The next one. Well, here is a video. Start it, please. Where you can see okay, this is where you can see the numeric information that I speak before, that you can see historical information and actual and the last information of every pump or pumping station. It was here is information about geographical information of our wells, and it was not easy to determine or to see the functioning of the whole system. Okay, we have basic trends of the functioning of the pumps. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This is all. Okay, that's okay. You can go further. Okay, here you have an evolution of the first telemetry systems, where we move from a remote transmission unit to a PLC located here, and a new transmission system that is spread spectrum. Next one. Next slide, please. Can you move to next slide? Juliana, can you hear me?
Sorry, we're moving the slides. Can you see it on your side?
Okay, I move it. Then we add some devices to measure hydraulic parameters like flow and pressure, and transmit to the control center. This is the last evolution of our starters, that we have a new kind of soft starters, and the communication systems is done by fiber optics. And this is what I was talking about later, that the graphic information that improves the numeric information. Here you can see a dashboard where the last information of electrical parameters, and you also have a trend of the power behavior of the last 7 days, for example. Okay, next here You have the same dashboard, but with a trend of 6 months. This allows us to determine the behavior of the power along the time. And if we see that the power is lowering or going up, we can determine that there is a malfunction of the pump and take actions before the pump fails. Here is another dashboard where you can see a BFD behavior, where the water demand varies along the day, and this means that you with BFD varies the pressure along with the speed of the motor. And here you can see the set point pressure, the actual pressure, and the power along 2 days. Here you have the same dashboard where you can see the trend of 7 days or 90 days, with showing the pressure and power. Here is another dashboard with the points of pressure measurement, as I said, that you can see the behavior of the pressure along the time and every hour in the day. And we also have information about the functioning of the solar panels here. You can see when they are working at day and not working at night when you are functioning on battery. Here you can see you are functioning on solar power at night on battery. The same information with long time trends. Okay, here you can find a video of the new system. This is an open source system called Grafana, where you can see the operation of different pumping stations and wells. Where when here are, this is a sewage pump station, then you can see the levels and when pumps are pumping or are stopped. Here is the behavior of our sewage treatment plant, where you can see levels, flows, and power. Here you have the same. This is the behavior of well. Here also you have instant information of a well and historical trends. And here you have geographical information with the behavior of our well pumps. Okay. Well, the way to reach the point wasn't easy, and we find a lot of problems along the way, like budgetary problems, budgetary problems mainly to maintain and grow. We have issues in obtaining qualified personnel, training them, and then keeping them in the company. We also have problems of vandalism because all our equipment is on the street, and we, as you know, we have economic and social problems here. We also have problems with the availability of telemetry equipment, and mostly during and after the pandemic of COVID. We also have problems with the resistance of change in our staff. The introduction of new technology is not easy. And we also have problems in the electrical, with electrical instabilities. that causes damages and malfunctioning in our equipment. Well, that's all about my presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alejandro, for your presentation. It was indeed very interesting to learn about OSE's work in Mar del Plata. Our next speaker is Beatrice Barresi. She is a Senior Sustainable Application Officer at the European Space Agency, where she has been working for almost 15 years. She promotes the use of space as an accelerator of the green transformation across every sector of society. As part of her job, she supports innovation and transformation for European small and medium enterprises and startups wishing to develop environmentally and economically sustainable solutions. Her field of expertise encompasses applications related to bioeconomy, agriculture, forestry, and urban sector. Beatrice, the floor is yours. We cannot hear you.
No, we still can't hear you.
You hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Please go ahead.
No, because I had to join as an attendee, so I think there were some hiccups for the technical side, but I'm happy that you can hear and see me.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I work for the European Space Agency. You heard already from the previous speakers highlighting how important it is to use technologies when it comes to promote the utilization of solution for the water operator. So I will tell you a bit how space can be part of this picture as well. And yes, so if I can manage, yeah. So I work for the European Space Agency, and as you can see, basically in this slide, the Space Agency of so ESA, it's an intergovernmental organization. We have 22 member states. You can see, say, the member states as the flag in this slide. And basically in ESA, we cover all the things that you would expect that a space agency does. So we do launch satellites, we operate them, we do missions to explore the deep space and so on and so forth. But we have also activities to see how space can be relevant for people down to Earth. And that's a bit, let's say, the focus of my presentation of today. So is to tell you about how space can be also relevant for us, for the citizens down to the Earth, and to see how the benefit that this application that use space can bring to us, to the citizens, to the people, but also to the planet. How do we do that? Basically, there is a program of ESA. It's called Space Solutions, which is the program where I work, where basically we look at the all plethora of capabilities that space can offer. And basically, you would be surprised by the number of applications that space can unlock, and especially by the benefits that space can bring. So what our job, what we do is to listen to the user community, to the people that really are facing challenges in the different sector, being either transport, energy, health, water, environment, and so on. We try to understand what are the main challenges that the users face, and we work together with the companies to develop solutions which also use space to address solutions, to help the users to overcome some of the challenges that they are facing. How do we do that? Basically, as I said, we look at the capabilities that space can bring, and I just put a few pictures here to tell you a bit more concretely what it means when we talk about space. Of course, I mean, I will not go through all the different applications, but just to tell you that if we look, for instance, at the remote sensing, so the usual images that we take from space, these are very important, for instance, for a number of applications regarding soil moisture, water pollution, water availability, but also looking at, for instance, the urban settlement, how they change over time. And you can already imagine the number of applications that can be enabled by these solutions. But space is not only about images, so we really have to open our minds here, and we should think about also space as a technology which enable a number of solutions related to navigation, for instance. So every time you want to improve a supply chain, or every time you want to have a solution which will help you in knowing where your asset is, then you have to use satellite navigation. And also, every time you want to look or consider autonomous vehicle, being a drone or robots and so on, again, you need to use satellite navigation. And finally, space is also about connectivity. The only way that you have to transfer data, connect sensors, even in remote areas, even after there is, let's say, a disaster and so on, is to use connectivity coming from space. Because in all these situations that I just mentioned, so natural disasters, outbreak of emergency and so on, the terrestrial coverage is not enough, or maybe it's overloaded. So the only way to ensure that there is a robust transmission of data is to use satellite connectivity. So let's say this was a very short overview just to tell you about space, because maybe the key message here that I want to say is that space is an utility. Now, we often are an aware user, but we use space in the same way as we use water, electricity, in the sense that without space, a lot of activities that we do, they should not be possible. So that's, let's say, the main mandate of the program where I work. So we work with European companies because we see that space can really help the green transition. Space can be helpful to meet the SDG, and also to make our companies more stronger, more competitive. Because of the specific role that we do, so because of the fact that we try to connect space with the non-space sectors, for us are really important the establishment of partnership, which means a strong collaboration with non-space sectors, non-space actors that can tell us what are the main trends, what are the main challenges of a specific sector, being transport, urban, cities, water, and so on. So for the sake of today, I thought it was relevant to tell you that we have a task force on bioeconomy, which has the objective of promoting sustainability, circularity, and efficient use of natural resources. And the bioeconomy task force is very, let's say, broad when it comes to the topics that we cover, but water is part of it. So within the task force of bioeconomy, we are also trying to address some of the challenges that the water operators face. So basically, it's just here an invitation. If any of you from the GWOPA members would like to also know more about this task force, please get in touch, because at the moment we are looking for members. You see the ones that are at the moment in the task force is very diverse. So we have a lot of, let's say, stakeholders coming from the forestry sector, from agriculture. We have also financial institutions there, because we think that they must be in the picture if we want to develop sustainable, continuous solutions. But we are always looking for having more members. So if you want to know more about it, we have a webpage, or you can get in contact with me. I decided also to tell you what a practical example, because until now, I've been talking about the benefits that space can bring, but it seems a bit, abstract as a concept. So here it's an example of a practical solution that a company, in this case Hydrologic is a Dutch company, has developed with us, with ISA, for users which are water operators in the Netherlands, but also in South Africa. And let's say the problem is very simple, no? If we state, so the water operators need to know what is the availability of water and what is let's say, demand of the water from the different sectors. The problem, let's say, sounds very easy to state, but as you can imagine, the solution is very complex. Now, space can help the water operators in solving this problem. So what the company has done is to develop a platform which is based on a different number of data. So you have, for instance, environmental data, data coming from the soil moisture, environmental data, and so on. And all these information are then taken in a platform which very easily can tell the operators what is their availability of water, and they can also make a forecasting of the water that will be needed. The solution has been so successful that starting from next year, it will be used by all the water operators in the Netherlands. And I mean, you know how, let's say, the Netherlands is, let's say, fragile when it comes to water, but also to South Africa. So the solution has been, let's say, adopted from different geographical areas. In terms of partnership, as I said, for us in ISA is a very strong asset that we are going to pursue, because we think that if we want to develop efficient resources, we really need to talk to the ones that are looking for solutions. In the context of water, we have a strong, I would say also long collaboration with the CO Water Mandate, which is part of the UN Global Compact, that, as you know, has this very strong ambitions in mind to address all the challenges related to water. We have started a collaboration with them almost, I would say, 5 years ago. And basically, we said, okay, let's join forces. Let's see how we can solve your problems. And the problems that CO Water Mandate has is that they have identified what's called the 100 priority basins. And basically, they are looking for solutions for digitalizing the solutions of these basins to improve the water access, the water availability, and also the water hygiene, the sanitation around these basins. So what we did, it's we joined forces, as I said. ISA has launched a call, a challenges for companies to develop solutions, and now these solutions have been, let's say, endorsed and supported by the CO Water Mandate. These are, let's say, the ambitions that I was saying of the CO Water Mandate. So they have defined these 100 priority basins, which for them are strategically important. As you can see, they are located in different parts of the planet, of the world. And they are very important because basically they serve 3 billion of people when it comes to water access. But they are also important, of course, for the hygiene part. Still, why I mean they are so important is because, again, they serve a very large community, but they are also, let's say, in a stressful situation, in the sense that the water that they provide is not enough. So the CO Water Mandate was really looking for solutions that were giving them almost real time an overview about the situations of these basins. And the result of this call that I mentioned is like 9 projects now are running in parallel. And these projects, again, are very operational in the sense that they are providing practical solutions for some of the basins that the CO Water Mandate has identified. And you will see it's kind of global footprint. We have projects looking at India, we have projects looking at Africa, America, and so on. So by following the priority that the CO Water Mandate has given, the companies have developed also solutions. But that's, let's say, not only, it's not, let's say, the complete picture, but because this collaboration that we have started with UN Global Impact also sees the participation of the companies of the corporates. We know that there are, let's say, 150 companies that basically decide they know what's happening to the majority of the water capabilities of our planet. And these companies, for instance, companies operating in the food industry, in the pharmaceutical sector, for them it's very important to know what is the impact of their activities when it comes to water quality, to water treatment. So they want to know if the procedure that they are putting in place has a positive impact on the water availability, if they are treating the wastewater in the right way, and so on. And space, together with other digital solutions, can be very let's say very efficient, very impactful when it comes to these problems. So our, let's say, strategy here is not to collaborate only with the seawater mandate, but also with the corporate sides, to make them aware of, let's say, of the not only, let's say, of the negative consequences that they can bring to the water bodies, but also how they can contribute it in a positive way. And again, now I mentioned that we have 9 projects running, looking at different basins, but I decided to bring just one example to show to you again practically what it means having this solution. As you can see, basically the team has worked with the operators. In this case, they target a basin in Egypt and in South Africa, and they have, let's say, developed a very straightforward, easy to access platform where basically it's given a risk indicator from 1 to 5 when it comes to water quality and water access. So it's a very straightforward color code. So the operators can know immediately, based on a number of indicators related to the environment, related to the weather, if the basin that is monitoring is in a kind of stressful situation, so it requires some ad hoc maintenance or procedure, or if it's operating according to the standard. The solution has been, let's say, very largely appreciated by the community. That's why, I mean, they will be then spread across all the basins around the world. The last example that I want to bring is about sanitation. Until now, I emphasized the concept of water quality, water access, which is for sure very important, but I'm sure that you know better than me how also the treatment of wastewater is important, especially now when it comes to the issue of health, especially if we think about the outbreak of several diseases. And here you see some numbers related to South Africa, because this project that we have been supporting, Aziza, led by Woodco, which is a company, an Irish company, is indeed targeting South Africa as a pilot region. And let's say here the solution is very simple. It's use intelligent IoT, so Internet of Things sensors together with environmental data coming from space to look at the wastewater. So basically the solution is monitoring the presence of bacteria and other, indicators in the wastewater, because this could be used as proxy to indicate the likelihood of an outbreak of some disease. The solution at the moment is used in a toilet block in one of the schools in South Africa, and it has been largely appreciated by the community because it's a way quite straightforward to indicate that, for instance, there is the need of using some vaccine, of using some medication that could somehow mitigate the outbreak of some disease. And I think that was my last slide. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Beatrice, for your very interesting presentation. Thank you. So now we are sharp on time and we came to an end. Unfortunately, Shem Otieno tried to join for a very long time, but there was an unstable connection, and I was not really strict in terms of timing with the other speakers, so we reached the end of this webinar. I would like just to hand over for the last minute of your time to Julie Perkins, which is the Senior Program Management Officer at GWOPA UN Habitat, and she will just want to illustrate the next phase of a large flagship program that is coming up. Julie, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks. Thank you, Juliana. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Great. Thanks so much. And I would love, thank you so much to all of the speakers. It was really extremely interesting. And I hope we'll get some of the responses to the questions that were asked in the question and answer, and we'll have time to carry on this conversation beyond. I want to remind that this is being done as one of GWOPA's work in supporting the sharing of knowledge and peer support on different topics, helping utilities move towards the SDGs, and digitalization is an increasingly important one for us, particularly in the context of the upcoming EU WOP Phase 2. We have a call for proposals that will be inviting new project proposals in projects in 2025. In the first half of the year, we'll be inviting calls for extending some of the ongoing projects or new projects with an additional 14 million euros in project funding for 4-year-long partnerships. And we are going to be focusing on digitalization among other topics like financial linking and human rights. And so we are inviting you all to pay attention to that call by following us, and you'll be receiving more information in the new year. I'm trying to be as quick as possible and passing it back over to you, Juliana.
Thank you so much, Julie. So we can wrap up and then conclude here. I would like to thank, first of all the speakers for their commitment and effort in being here today and sharing their knowledge with all of us. And I would like to thank you for sparing some time and being here today. If you want to share the content of the webinar today, we will publish maybe in the next couple of weeks a recording of the webinar on GWOPA's website. So thank you all so much, and I wish you a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.